So we now have a time frame or a timeline. Is it timeline? What would it be? It's
schedule.
Schedule for
session
IO.
list. Yeah. As of recording, we are 26 days away from it. And Google earlier this week shared their initial sessions list for I/O. And at a high level, focus areas are Android, AI, web, and cloud. I think the thing I'd point out about the Android, usually it's just called mobile, so I'm not sure if the fact that it's explicitly Android is worth a bit more. But in general, this preview, we got some of the high-level keynotes. I think we should dive right in with the Android stuff. There's quite a few Android things that were teased from the session list. We have something called Material Tree Expressive, which Google is teasing as it's the future of Google's UX design. With emotional design patterns, it can boost engagement, usability, and the desire for your product. Google's teasing some new guidelines behind it and all that. So we're not seeing Material 4 or anything like that. In many ways, this feels like a 0.5 release to it. In many ways, like we had Material Design, and that was Material 1. Then we had Material 2, which was Google Material Theme, but basically the high level was letting developers add more brand and personality to their apps. And then we've, of course, had Material 3. Material 3 Expressive seems to, I'd imagine it builds on the same design components, the literal, like the fabs, the designs of the various elements that we've had for the past few years, but I don't know, maybe something with color, something with animation, something with shapes, expressive.
Yeah, that's my initial thought is shapes, Google's kind of softer approach to shapes and stuff. And I mean, we're all hankering for more changes in Android over the past few years. I feel like we've been starved of it a little bit. So having a bit more, I mean, if Google's calling it expressive, then I'm kind of excited to see what happens with it, because I guess it lays out the groundwork for what we're going to see with applications and stuff. And yeah, maybe it is the groundwork for that later Android 16 release, because I mean, we're not seeing much, right? Like the difference between Android 12 and Android 16 is not visually all that much.
No, and as of this initial release, no. Yeah, it's, of course, the thing with, hopefully Android's the first place to demo this, at least hopefully the first party apps, Google's apps are the first to demo this. So that could be we're in for an exciting refresh cycle for all apps.
Maybe not too much though. We don't want a Apple Photos kind of level of
no, it's
user discourse.
To that point, it doesn't seem like this is a redesign in the sense that this is introducing structural layout changes. Like the bottom bar is still going to be a bottom bar. I mean, with Google Chat, 2 years ago now, we saw this floating bottom bar, for the lack of a better word. It's not connected to the bottom edge of the screen, basically. It just floats. It's a pill that floats. At the end of the day, that's still a bottom bar, so it's not that drastic, but I think we're maybe that's the direction we're going in. Again, no other app has adopted it yet, and I would argue that yes, the floating bottom bar lets you see more content. Maybe you get a line of text more underneath it, but it doesn't really show you. I don't know. It's app design is probably moving in that direction. Anyways, this idea of floating edge-to-edge content. Anyways, we'll see if that's part of it. But yeah, I'm expecting, I don't know, color animation, that kind of stuff to get a boost. I think
animations is a huge area where Google has kind of, they have upped their game over the last 4 to 5 years, but I think refining animation is, you can see it in other versions of Android, obviously third-party skins, One UI, Oxygen OS, I think HyperOS to an extent, although I haven't spent as much time with that. Animations have been a real kind of area of dialing down and getting, almost adding in more frames to animations and stuff. And I hope that that's another area of kind of refinement, because if Google is almost like the bastion of, and I hate the phrase buttery smooth, but everyone kind of says your Pixel feels buttery smooth compared to a lot of other devices, and having Google at the forefront of that, even with their first-party applications, if this is where it's going to be initially applied with Material 3 Expressive, to me, that definitely screams there's going to be more attention to detail in the animations and those little flourishes and small visual elements, and they're the kind of things that we pick up on, right? I mean, that's our job to do so.
Indeed. So I think moving on from design,
mm-hmm.
well, one more thing I'd say about design is I think there's another push on like designing apps at scale to phones, tablets, foldables, Chromebooks, cars, XR. I think that's going to continue. As always. I don't know, the initial Pixel, like the Pixel Tab, no, I guess this goes back to Android 12L when Google announced they were doing some tablet stuff. It built over the next few versions of Android, and it probably culminated with Google announcing the Pixel tablet and all the first-party apps getting to a much more manageable state in terms of large screen UIs. Pixel Fold also plays a role there. I don't know, tablets in general, tablet apps in general, they're fine. They're much better than they were a few years ago. But I think it's time to do the next level in terms of, I don't know. Again, all the apps look fine. They're decent on tablets. I think they need another push for polish. And I'm not sure if that happens with desktop apps, which we'll talk about that a bit later. But that seems, reading from these sessions, I think adapting your apps for more form factors, that's another push. But I think the other core tentpole is Android XR. We're getting the SDK beta from the developer preview, and from the sessions we got teased at the public launch of Android XR later this year. So I imagine there will be a lot of an even bigger push from December one to get developers to update their apps.
I'm excited to try this out. I'm excited to potentially try this out. I'm hoping that they give us the opportunity to test XR in person, because I know that there are going to be developers out there who are wondering what's the benefit, I guess, in a lot of respects. But I think from a user perspective, for someone who's going to potentially put a VR headset on, I mean, it is AR, VR, whatever they want to call it, AR, VR, XR, whatever. I think learning how that it benefits you in that real world setting is something that I think you kind of have to test it, I guess. I haven't tested Vision Pro, but I would like to try it, see what it's like, could kind of get a concept of, or an almost testing point where I can kind of refer to it, say, oh, this is like this is like that. I do wonder how Google converts people or convinces people that the platform's going to be ridiculously viable.
The big question is whether, I guess, officially, I think they're probably pushing Android XR as a productivity and a media entertainment platform, maybe games. We'll see what actually breeds through, whether multitasking is ideal on that form factor for productivity. I think media, like watching a video in full screen environments, that's a pretty straightforward push, but I'm curious whether I want to be productive in that, using Android apps, using Chrome. That'll be something to see. Reading from this, it does not seem to me that we are getting an imminent Samsung launch of its headset, of Project Muhan, anytime soon. Summer, I'd say summer. Again, like they said, it's coming later this year, but I don't think like Samsung will be announcing hardware. I'd like them to, but I don't think we're there yet. So yeah.
I would love for them to announce something, but I agree with you. I think it might be a little bit early. Maybe there's some behind closed doors things and working with the bigger developers out there, your Netflixes, the Hulus of the world, who are potentially going to make specifically tailored applications for it. But I'm hoping in some respects that I do think in some respects as well, Android XR is probably going to be in a good place from the get go because of Google's work in, well, extensive work in building out AR core and having potentially even a modicum of or a small amount of content available. Like you can go out and use that, and even if they just ported that over, it's going to be fairly usable right out of the gate.
Agreed. The key is they own YouTube. They have existing XR content.
Very true.
And they've already shown what the XR optimized YouTube looks like. So yes, that is something valuable that they have and that they can push really hard. I think another way to look at this is, I'm not sure if this is one-to-one, but Android TV. There are a lot of Android TV apps, which it's Android TV apps and or Android tablet apps. It's probably going to come in from the tablet side more, but Android TV, Google TV, I hope that plays a role. But yeah, I can easily see like Google's usual partners, YouTube on the first party front, Max is probably going to, HBO is probably going to have the app optimized, Disney Plus, that kind of stuff. So I think it's good positioning, like you said, for the media side. I think media is pretty easy to do, and they're probably going to do a good job there. Productivity is my big question, and like with desktop level apps. Again, we'll touch on that in a second. But to other Android sessions that are interesting, Android 16 on TV. Looks like we're getting that. At least a tease or announcement. There's nothing on Wear OS yet, but from the tags, it looks like there will be something. Again, they just did 15 Wear OS 5.1 based on Android 15. There's quite a bit of stuff on using Gemini Nano, which, yeah, they need to push that because there's some first party apps that do it, but I still think the most interesting AI stuff is being done in the cloud. So let's see what they do with Gemini Nano to make it more
of a component. I feel like it's a weird one, Gemini Nano, because obviously it's sold as one of those benefits of. I mean, is there Nano on the 8 series? Am I right in thinking that?
Yes,
Google
it's
AI
8
Core?
and up. 8 and up.
Okay, so
Samsung has it too.
So from what I can tell, it only seems as realistically what Samsung is using it for that basic multimodal capabilities. Like, it doesn't feel like there is any major benefit to having Gemini Nano on device. Like I've installed third-party applications that replicate certain features, like Pixel screenshots, for instance. There's a free version called Pixel Shot AI, which is very, very good, and it practically does the same thing. And apparently, that relies on Google Gemini Nano, on the 9 series. But then I don't necessarily see how that can run locally without having access. I don't know. It's strange. It feels like one of those things that's like, you think it's going to be majorly beneficial and you don't necessarily know why, and there is no real out there use case to prove it. So hopefully we get some clarity on that, and maybe, like you say, more integration with Gemini and other third-party developers. It means we can actually take advantage of it.
Yeah, so I guess the last thing to probably call out is Gemini and Android Auto, Android Automotive. I think that makes sense. Gemini or Gemini Live. It remains to be seen. But yeah, I think that's the big consumer-facing stuff right now that Google's going to push. The session list is going to get richer over time, and I'm sure until the keynote, none of this is finalized yet, but it's looking like a better year for Android than past years, at least. So we'll see what the phone stuff is, but the other form factors are looking quite good right now.
Yeah, I think it's a nice way to. Well, it's nice for us, isn't it? Who predominantly care about Android specifically, or that's our main area of concern. So it is nice to see that, because like I say, last year it felt like a bit of a side note in some respects to all of these other Gemini things, and Gemini getting its full kind of unveiling as such. Was it last year more so than anything? It was kind of like, let's put Gemini out into the world. This is Gemini, welcome, kind of thing. Well, that's how it felt to me anyway. Maybe I didn't pay attention.
Yeah, it's again like people want the Android stuff, and hope we are here for that. Desktop apps. I had a bit of a thought about what a desktop Android looks like, what that could be in the context of Android on laptops, and it's basically the conclusion I came with. I probably should have realized this sooner, is that all the stuff they're doing with Android XR, the desktop windowing, this productivity stuff with being able to activate this Gemini live mode and then being able to talk to Gemini about what you're seeing, all that is pretty applicable to desktop Android, which we think is... Okay, so to rewind, Chrome OS is moving... Officially, what's happening with Chrome OS is that it's moving to a lot of Android components under the hood. That's where we're at. It's going to take a few years. But I feel like the lighting on the wall there is that we're moving... That desktop Android is about to be a thing. That Google wants to extend Android from tablets, from watches, from TVs, from cars to a proper desktop operating system. And in general, again, like we were talking about tablets earlier, even if Google does everything right, if they get the interactions right, if they get the UI, the user experience right, I think they're just left with Chrome OS but Android. And I'm not sure. Yeah, well, if okay, you've used the Pixel tablet. I hope you've used it with a keyboard and a trackpad. If it were just that, maybe they improve windowing a bit. Let's say performance isn't an issue. Everything is speedy. Does that replace your Mac?
No.
Yes.
No.
And I'm in the same boat too.
For me, I feel like there are so many variables at play with regards to Android in terms of like from a professional point of view. No, I could maybe understand, and this is why I think the iPad has sold so many devices. Is it is sold as almost two things: entertainment first, and then they basically in the early years sold it as like a student piece of tech, and I think that's fine because obviously you're a student at university, college, whatever you want to call it. You don't want to carry around a huge laptop with you because you don't necessarily need a laptop to write essays or write reports or whatever it is. You might not need specialist software. If you're a generic student who's studying something like an English, like a classics degree, you don't necessarily need access to certain things. Like a lot of the times there are mobile versions of things. Like I know here in the UK, I used to use a service called Turnitin, which used to check for plagiarism. You can use Google Docs on a tablet. You can use Apple's version of, is it Pages? You can use all of these pieces of software on a tablet, and the trackpad and keyboard is enough to you to write reports. And now that's a very, very basic use case. But I do think that Apple is very good at courting. They've courted a lot of developers that make creative packages. So I think Procreate's on there. There is basic versions of Photoshop, which I still think is terrible on a tablet form factor. There are certain things that they can do. Now, I only think that Samsung could do something similar on Android. I feel like if Google pushes for it in a first-party device, maybe, but they're going to need to have Samsung weighing in there as well because they are probably they must be the biggest Android tablet manufacturer. And their solution to this is to make DeX, which is obviously in some respects a more feature-rich version of the desktop windowing mode on the Pixel tablet. But yeah, Google needs to go above beyond what DeX can do, in my opinion. And how do they get professional grade applications to work on Android? I don't know. I really don't know.
It's a key part of desktop on that. I think for me personally, to be successful, it needs a desktop class browser, and it needs full desktop Chrome running on it, Chrome on ARM or whatever. But yeah, I can do everything on a Chromebook, and in terms of my writing and basic image editing, that kind of stuff. I can do all that on a Chromebook, but yet I still prefer a Mac for a number of reasons in terms of the utilities that they're there, clipboard managers, just stuff like that. That's still something Chrome OS doesn't have, and I'd say Android doesn't have right now either. But again, if everything is done right, what you're left with is Chrome OS on Android, and Chromebooks are obviously successful. They're very successful in like student for students, but it hasn't moved the needle, and maybe that's why Google is doing this Android thing in the first place. They see Chrome OS, they want a desktop offering that rivals their success in smartphones. So that could be the reason they're doing all this. But I think the other thing, it's the potential for Gemini to make possible a next-gen desktop OS, I think is so interesting and could be that killer feature. Again, on headsets, you can talk to Gemini about what's on your screen. I'm imagining like these voice-first interactions that I'm imagining. They border on science fiction, I admit, but it's basically like that's like perfect speech to text, perfect dictation, perfect ability to browse the web with your voice, with the help of agents, browser agents that you can just tell what you want and it can accomplish the task on the web browser. I think something like that could be really a next-gen thing that genuinely sets it apart from Mac and Windows.
Yeah, so as you were saying that, I just had a thought, because I mentioned DeX, and would it not make sense for Google if the end goal is to make a laptop-like experience for Android, would it not make sense to have a dedicated desktop mode built within your smartphone? I think personally my dream is, and I cannot see this happening probably in my lifetime because of the way that computing has kind of developed, that you effectively do what you do with the Samsung phone and you have DeX and you have one device that literally plugs into a display, or you go into an office, you plug it in with a USB-C cable or whatever it happens to be wirelessly, your keyboard's already paired, and your smartphone has everything there. And I know that some people want separation for that, but and the tablet methodology is one that we're talking about. But I feel like they could go a step further and be like, hey, we have, let's just say let's say this is not already for Pixel 10, it's Pixel 11. You have a Pixel 11 with a ridiculously powerful processor. It has all of the RAM on board that you need. It has access to Gemini, has access to all of your on-device files anyway, rather than your Google account. Everything's locally managed by a new version of Gemini Nano 10 or whatever, the XXL. And everything is there, self-contained within your smartphone that you utilize every day, and it has all of that context of you. I think that personally, to me, would be a more enticing form factor than carrying a separate tablet, having that, like you say, desktop quality applications that are almost they've learned experiences from XR, AR development. I don't know. I feel like that's my only trepidation, is if Google goes down one route by a tablet form factor, that's a really traditional paradigm. I don't know how. It's tried and tested now, isn't it? With Apple have done it for a long time. It's existed on Windows since Windows 8 era, which, hey, that was a bit of a disaster for them. I don't know if almost shuttering Chrome OS and siloing it away as almost like its own thing versus an Android tablet that looks like Chrome OS and acts like Chrome OS. I don't know what the end goal. My personal opinion is put this on your smartphone and give it to everybody, rather than trying to be like, hey, we have a separately new form factor that only does this.
It's DeX, I don't know.
Do you think it's niche? I feel like it's still niche, whatever it is. It's a small subset of users would want that. I don't know. I'm in the minority here.
No, the idea of DeX to me is always okay. First thing I identified. Yeah, it needs to be wireless. I don't think people like the idea of plugging in cables or whatever. That's probably a first thing. I'm just thinking of, you remember the Motorola Atrix,
you
the
put it
laptop
into
with the dock.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
it's just I think you need buy-in from traditional PC makers. I think you need to give them something familiar. You need buy-in from them. You need them to make familiar form factors that people are familiar with. I don't know. I just the idea, like, yes, it's more efficient, especially as smartphones get more powerful chips. But I don't know. At some point, you're coming across thermals, like a dedicated laptop form factor has better thermals and all that. I don't know. There is an arrogance, there is a efficiency to having your phone be the central hub of everything. But I think, I don't know, we have ample computing power. It's not like chips are limited on anything. Like, I think we can make a good laptop with a good chip. I think that's table stakes.
Maybe like you say, it's a paradigm thing where people are used to, this is my laptop, this is my tablet hybrid. I keep my phone separate. Maybe there is a massive element of separation and there needs to be lines drawn between them. I mean, my thought process was merely wishful thinking. And I do hope that, I hope that Google can do that at some point with the Pixel series, even if it is just a basic desktop mode like it is on the Pixel tablet now. I think that'd be kind of cool, especially as it has video out. But yeah, how they position it is probably going to be the key thing here. I don't think they necessarily position the Pixel tablet all that well. So how would they do it with the laptop? Yeah. What would your ideal, let's say Android, we'll call it Android laptop, look like? Would it be same size as your MacBook potentially, or smaller, or?
Is it the question? Is it a 2-in-1? Does it separate? Is my question.
Whatever you wish for, basically. Yeah, let's just pick up your dream device, your dream Android tablet/laptop.
Yeah, okay. I don't want that BS, the keyboard on the back of your thing while it's in tablet mode. I absolutely want to separate. If we're doing a 2-in-1, which I feel like is probably the form factor we're heading towards. Yeah, okay, let's say 2-in-1. The iPad? I mean, the iPad Pro with its latest smart keyboard is pretty good. As a form factor that's easy to detach and stuff. It's I don't know. It's 2-in-1. It really comes down to the OS for me. It's I guess for me in the pecking order. There's the Mac. I'll use my Mac. The Chromebook is the other thing I use active on a daily sense. Is Android? Is Android on laptops going to be better than a Chromebook? Is it going to be as powerful? Is it going to be as intuitive? Is it comes down to that?
Yeah,
how about you?
I don't think an 11-inch tablet works. I feel like it needs to be bigger. But at that point, I think, how are you going to... I just think the difficulty is convincing people that they need a big tablet. I think even if it's a 2-in-1, I don't like a laptop that has a touchscreen. I don't know why. I'm a mouse and cursor guy. Maybe it's showing my age. But I think it's more... Yeah, it feels more efficient when you start to do things, and a cursor is, for some reason, it shouldn't be in theory. A cursor should not be as you shouldn't have as much fine motor control as you should with a touch, but for some reason it is. Like, that's just the way it is. And obviously I spend a lot of time in Photoshop and Premiere, so for me there has to be a touchpad of some kind. And then there are issues there if they cheap out on the touchpad. Maybe something that looks like the original Pixelbook, but would work better. I think a lot of people would love that design and still seem to love that device. So just remake the Pixelbook, the original Pixelbook, but better. And I think a lot of people would be happy. But yeah, it's a strange one. It's a very, very strange one. I think in terms of the overall outlook for I/O, though, what do you think? Are we gonna have, because there's a lot of sessions going on? How busy in terms of other events compared to other previous I/Os do you think where we're going to stand come the end of
there's going to be a lot of AI
stuff?
That's the thing we haven't really discussed. I think if they're making a real Android push in terms of multiple form factors, I think it's going to be a big show. And again, like, there's nothing about Android well, there is something about making desktop windowing for Android apps and supporting stylus. That's the other thing. Has to have a good stylus experience. I think USI with its nubbin tips are just so bad compared to the Apple Pencil and what Microsoft did with their newer generation of pens. The tips are just so bad. So that's a tangent there. But yeah, I/O, it's less than a month away. It feels like it's going to be a packed one.
I'm surprised that they couldn't done it. They wouldn't have done it over 3 days if there's so much to pack in there. But obviously, we'll do our best to give everyone the lowdown, and we'll hopefully have podcasts live from the event to kind of give you overviews of what's going on and what we've seen and what you think you need to know. So it's around about a month today that it will be all said and done, and I'm excited. It's probably one of the biggest events in Google's calendar. And I'm sure everybody else is kind of thinking the same thing. Still don't think we're going to get an Android beta at that event. But, I mean, I'm here. I hope to be proven wrong. But, yeah, it's kind of a small one. Maybe I'm still in the back of my mind hoping for an Android 16 release. That would be kind of cool. But, yeah, that's Google I/O. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns, I imagine, before then. But I wanted to end on something really cool, Havno, because as of the last couple of days, YouTube, which is my favorite platform by far and away of any platform on the internet, just turned 20. And I wanted to ask you a question because we were kind of mulling over this beforehand. What was the first video that you saw on YouTube or you remember watching?
Yes. First and remember watching, that should be the same, but it is a music video for Vertigo by U2.
Are you a U2 fan, or did you choose to watch this? Did you go out of your way to watch it?
Oh, wait, damn. Maybe it's not U2. Maybe it's Linkin Park. Oh, that's really showing my age. Or showing my era.
So it was definitely a music video, but you're not sure which one it was at this point?
What I've Done by Linkin Park, I think.
Okay.
It was in.
Okay, is that from? Yeah, is that from the Transformers film? I think is that the. I feel like it is.
I feel like it was an ad. It's either one of those. It's like I saw them, like heard the music in an ad, and I seeked out the full song on YouTube. That kind of thing. So yeah, it's absolutely a music video. It's probably Vertigo by U2.
I found when I first started using YouTube that, and the first video that I ever saw, I think it's a bit of a cringe one, was actually, it's not cringe, but was Charlie Bit My Finger, is the first video, genuinely the first video I saw on YouTube. That's in, what was that, 2007, something like that? But I used it for music after that fact, because I didn't even know it existed, really. I was using different sites for watching videos. I didn't really watch video online. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm showing my age there. This is back when Netflix was DVDs.
Indeed.
So yeah, most of the time would be on forums and stuff like that, even back in 2007. But yeah, I just remember watching Charlie Bit My Finger because one of my relatives said, you need to watch this, and we watched it. And I was like, oh, right. And at the time, I didn't anticipate where YouTube would ever end up. I thought it was kind of like a hacky, I mean, obviously Google had purchased it by that point in time. But yeah, since then, it's probably the website I spend my most time on. Obviously, I make a lot of videos on YouTube as well. It's my favorite platform, period. I guess at the time when you were watching that Linkin Park video, did you ever think, wow, this is going to be the biggest video sharing platform on the internet, because I can't honestly say I did.
No, I was way too young to think through that even.
I think I maybe thought that video sharing was not something that had legs. I just thought that video sharing would be you give somebody a DVD or an actual VHS. That was the limit of it. But yeah, here we are 20 years down the line, and YouTube's nearly ready to be able to legally order a beer in the US. But within the next 12 months.
YouTube at 20, it's... So yeah, they celebrated, the occasion they were celebrating was the first video, the zoo video.
Yep.
So, they had some feature announcements, not a lot, but like the up to 4x playback speed for YouTube Premium. I think the big thing is, even for YouTube TV, they'll soon start letting you do custom multi-views with non-sports channels. And the biggest thing is they're planning a TV experience redesign of the YouTube proper on televisions. It's getting a new player at least. I assume the rest of the UI is also getting updated, probably to be a bit more mobile-y. But yeah, that's the thing to look forward to this summer. But yeah, YouTube at 20, we talked about this in a recent podcast, but it's people's entertainment. It is what people watch on TVs now.
I find it fascinating when I speak to people, because like I'm ashamed to admit I'm in my late 30s, but that's basically just how life goes, isn't it? But I think 20 years ago versus now, that most people consume like independent creators, because at the end of the day we are independent in terms of our output. It's insane to me to think that a lot of people will derive their entertainment from individuals as opposed to corporations. And I think that's one of the best things about YouTube. I think YouTube has the idea of the creator economy is something that is so important. I think when we have all of these avenues to almost find niche content, communities that you're interested in. And yeah, if you'd have told me this at 10 years old, 15 years old, that I could watch infinite amounts of Pokemon Gold and Red playthroughs, then I would have absolutely said that you're a liar, and that sounds amazing. How does that happen?
It's literally infinite. That is, yeah, it is. It's wild to think about. It's the scale. It's a truly global. I think I'd say it's the most global video service.
It easily surpasses anything I watch content on. I know I'm a YouTube addict, but I don't watch it as much as Jordan. He is. If you have the opportunity, I will leave a link in the show notes to show you. It has a screenshot in a post that we did a few months ago talking about YouTube usage, how much Jordan consumes YouTube. It's something like 48 hours every 2-3 days or something. I was like, how are you consuming that much? But hey, the guy's addicted to YouTube. So yeah. I'm excited to see what the next 10 years of YouTube is. I still think it's going to be a dominant player in the space. There are lots of other alternative platforms out there.
Yeah,
but
because
I think YouTube,
at an underlying level, video is still expensive. Like, I don't think anybody appreciates how much content Google hosts, what it costs to serve. And it's all free. It's all ad supported. It's maybe in the next 10 years we'll see people actually want to pay for YouTube, or they get it. they won't.
Hey, I mean, that's just one of those part and parcel, I guess, of making a product free. People don't necessarily want to pay for it. I mean, I'm a happy YouTube Premium subscriber. I know you are as well, and I think that I definitely get my value out of it.
I'd easily pay double for it. I'd easily pay when
I'm
paying for HBO
Don't give Google
Max.
any ideas.
It's the value of not having to watch ads. It's insane. It is. It saves so much time. It just changes the experience. Like, yeah, there's like not seeing in the ads in the YouTube and like when you're watching a video, but on the rest of the site or the app too. It makes it so much cleaner. I just can't say enough good things.
Yeah, I think, and then obviously the redesign as well is a big thing. I think obviously it's polarizing, but yeah, hopefully we're recording in 20 years' time talking about another 20 years of YouTube, and yeah, we're very, I'm very, very excited for I/O. It's the one thing I look forward to every year, apart from Made by Google. In fact, I look forward to I/O more than Made by Google because it feels like the true blue Android, like kind of. Obviously, the sky's the limit with it, and we're going to be obviously, that we're going to be on the ground talking all things Google I/O, and I'm like I say, it's not very long. It's going to be a long time for me to get there, but I'm excited. We'll be paving the shoreline pavements, even though is it pavements? Yeah, you guys say sidewalk, don't you? So yeah. Thanks again for joining me, Abner. It's been always good to talk about things upcoming because it's a predominantly quiet part of the year. We're waiting things to come to fruition, but yeah, I/O definitely, it's not in our rear view. It's in our forefront of our minds, and we're excited to see what comes from it, and hopefully lots of Android stuff to talk about. Yeah, this has been episode 51 of Pixelated. If you don't already, while we spoke about YouTube, go subscribe to the 9 to 5 Google YouTube channel. Leave a lovely comment. Don't leave a nasty one because I don't like those. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.